So, they're remaking Mafia. You know, the classic 2002 video game? I'm pretty excited. And honestly, I can't wait to see what they've actually done with it, and how it plays more than anything else. Oh shit! They've actually just released some actual gameplay footage, so I'm gonna have a look at that, and we'll see what it's like.
15 minutes later.
Well, my disappointment is immeasurable, and my day is ruined. Let's talk about Mafia. The original Mafia is a classic for a reason. It's a fun and innovative game that tries to combine multiple mechanics and gameplay styles, all in the effort to tell the tale of Tommy Angelino, a lost heaven taxi driver, and how he becomes a member of the Salieri crime family. With a great cast of both characters and actors playing them, while some of the acting can be a bit stiff at times and the models and animations haven't exactly aged well. I mean, it's from 2002. A lot of games from 2002 don't look great now. They still tell a compelling story, while some of the gameplay is a bit stiff and some of the missions are a little confusing to navigate, and it's quite easy to get lost in them. It adds to the sense of exploration and discovery in the game. While there aren't collectibles scattered across the map to force you to explore like there are in modern games, the city itself is interesting enough where you want to travel around, look for Easter eggs, and just explore generally. The game tries to do a lot and pulls most of it off, making it a smart and compelling crime game, and the perfect jumping off point for the series. The original was focused on realism, and its designs and mechanics reflect that. It also gives you a series of different tasks. Now that I've given a basic overview of the original, let's talk a little bit about the remake. Firstly, the remake looks amazing. In fact, it looks bloody spectacular. Some of the original team are working on it as well, so that's nice. It's nice to know that you've got some of the original team back in the project. You've got some guys from Mafia 2, some from Mafia 3, and that's kind of where my problems start. But we'll talk about that in a minute. Anyway, in this little gameplay video they showed, they stated many times that they're trying to make the game as faithful as possible to the original, which is good. I mean, that's what we want out of a remake. If you're making a remake, you want it to be faithful. Sure, you might change it up. Capcom did a lot when they made the Resident Evil remakes, and they did a great job with those. Ultimately, those games are very different from the originals, but they still have the same feeling, the same atmosphere, the same story. And they didn't forget where they came from. They made it faithful. It's not suddenly the Resident Evil 6. It's not suddenly an action game. No, it's still a very atmospheric, slow-paced horror game. And that's exactly what you want. Sure, they might have added a couple more enemies here and there, but that makes sense for what they're doing. Not exactly what they've done with the remake here. The driving looks like it's been retooled. I'm hoping something more along the lines of Mafia 2, or just a more refined version of the original driving, because the original driving was fine. I actually really like the fact that you could change gears when playing in the original game. I don't think they'll do that for this, but it looks fine. I really hated the Mafia 3 driving. It felt super arcadey to me, so I hope they're not going to do that. I've gone over the clips a couple of times now, and I think they're just using the Mafia 3 engine, so yeah, the driving is going to be super arcadey again. I'm not looking forward to that. Overall, Hangar 13 have only released a few games, so it's kind of up in the air about what's going to happen, and I'm sure it's more than possible that they could surprise us and do an amazing job with this remake. And we'll just have to see what they do. We can always keep our hopes up. Oh, and before I forget, if you care about motorbikes, they have motorbikes in it now. So that's fine. That all being said, now that we've gone over the good, let's talk a little bit about everything else. And there's a lot more to cover. The entire cast of the original has been replaced, which is kind of expected. And it's not necessarily a bad thing. I mean, what do I expect? They're going to bring back all of the old guys to do it? This game was made almost 20 years ago, in fact. I don't expect them to bring back everyone. I imagine half the cast is dead, and the other just aren't even involved in voice acting anymore. So, that's fine, whatever. But let's talk about character personalities. I'm not a fan of changing character personalities, and it looks like they've done that. They've turned Paulie into a snivelling wimp. I mean, he's pathetic. Everything I've seen from this little bit of gameplay, Paulie is just nothing like he used to be. Paulie was basically Joe Pesci in Goodfellas. He was this short, very aggressive, loudmouth guy. He was very, very nice, but he had a very short temper, and he would fuck people up in the original. Like, Paulie never seemed scared about anything, and he would just do his job because that's what he did. And now he's like crying half the time. Oh, Tommy, why don't you go and do it for me? Because I don't think I can. Why? Why would you change Paulie like that? I mean, listen to this.
Hey, Tommy, we're going to a farm outside of town to pick up a couple of truckloads of good booze. Wanted you with us in case of any trouble, but it should be real easy. We don't really have to do nothing, just be there. The boys will load up the trucks and we'll come back. Sam's already there waiting for us, so probably be drinking most of it before we even get there.
Wow! Hey, Tom! Looking for Sammy? Did you find him? Canadian crew. Dollars to donuts, the rest of the face down in the dirt, too.
They're all dead! What? Truck crew, out there in the back, they wasted them. What? What about Sam? Did you see him?
No, I didn't see him, but the barn was locked. He might be in there.
We ain't leaving without him. Let's go back and get him.
They're cops, Tommy.
Sam! Jesus, what have they done to you? Still in one piece?
Just in the wrong place at the wrong time again, I guess.
Can you walk?
Probably not too good.
Okay, hang on. I'll get the truck. We'll get you to the doctor. You'll make it. Sam! Tom, wait here with him. I'll be back in a second.
Sammy. Oh, Jesus, what have they done to you?
I gotta collect. Christ, that's a lot of blood.
Can you walk?
No, I don't think so.
Okay, just hang on. I'll go get the truck, then we'll take you to the doctor. Hey, you're gonna make it, Sam. Tommy, stay here with him. I'll be back in a flash.
Sam, again, has been changed heavily. In the original, he seemed like he might have been sort of the oldest member of the group. He was obviously the senior of them within the gang itself. And it always seemed like he was the oldest. He was very, very cold, very collected. And he got injured, actually, the most, which is quite interesting. Again, showing that he might be a bit older and have slower reflexes. In the remake, he looks like he's probably the youngest. And again, he's just kind of pathetic. He's like crying because he's been shot. Henry got shot in Mafia 2 and didn't cry. He was complaining about it, sure, because he had a golf ball size hole in his leg.
I got a hole in my leg the size of a fucking golf ball and you're telling me to relax?
But he still wasn't crying about it, and they got him to the doctor. Why wouldn't you make Sam more like that? Why would Sam be crying about it? To be perfectly honest, I'm pretty worried when it comes to the characters. I mean, is Salieri still going to be like Paulie Cicero from Goodfellas? I don't know. Is Frank still going to be the same? I don't know. And I ask this question because the story of the original works because of the characters pushing it forward. If we don't have those characters that fit perfectly within those roles, the story just isn't going to make sense. I mean, this new Paulie doesn't seem like the kind of person who's going to come up with a daring bank heist because he feels like he's being betrayed by the gang. The new Paulie seems like he would cry if someone shouted at him. I don't believe that this new Paulie would do that. Hell, I don't think this new Paulie would be able to handle a simple mugging. It's ridiculous. This weak-willed, pathetic Paulie is a far cry from the original, and I don't see any way that you could respect him. I mean, hell, in the first game, Paulie and Sam jump in your taxi and you've got to escape with them. And they're both like goading you on, saying, "Come on, kid, drive faster," stuff like that. Well, it won't make sense for Sam to call me kid, because Sam looks like he's about 13 years old, and it won't make sense for Paulie to be tough with me, because Paulie's a wimp. This doesn't make sense, and it just seems, I don't know, maybe they've rewritten the story enough where it's going to make sense, and that's why this is in the meh section. I don't know if it's going to ruin it, but I'm not convinced. They seem to have not brought back the inventory system from the original. They seem to have focused on the Mafia 3, 2 guns and a throwable inventory. Whatever, I'm not a fan of it personally. It is probably going to restrict the choices and stuff I can make. I liked it in the original because I would have, for instance, with the sniper mission, I would have the Mosin Nagant in my coat, and I would have a Tommy gun out or a shotgun out. And that's how I would deal with the hobos living in the old prison. I don't think I can do that. I'm going to have to either drop the Mosin Nagant, then constantly have to run back to go pick it up, or I'm just going to have to use a pistol the whole time. And I can't even use multiple pistols. It's one pistol that I have to drop if I want to get a different one. And that kind of ruined Mafia 3 for me, because I never used different guns. In Mafia 2, I was always swapping guns because I had them all in my inventory. In Mafia 3, I tended to just use 2 guns the entire time, because I didn't have any others on hand, and it was a hassle to have to go change them. I'd have to either call the gun truck, or I'd have to go to a safe house. And what was the point? I was fine with the guns I had. I liked them. There was no point changing. At least in Mafia 2, I would have swapped them around because I had them all. Or in Mafia 1, I'd have a larger selection, so again, I could choose which gun I felt like using. In the original, you had multiple inventory spaces that allowed you to carry several handguns or small weapons. This could be knuckle dusters or knives. And then have one large weapon in your coat, allowing you to carry a maximum of 2 large guns, or large weapons. Maybe you wanted to carry a baseball bat in your coat and carry a Tommy gun. Put the Tommy gun in, take the baseball bat out, and then if you want to swap to a pistol, you drop the baseball bat. It was great, it worked really well, and I really liked that. You're going to limit the choices when it comes to approaching situations a bit, but whatever. Hangar 13 seems to have heavily streamlined and simplified the game. They've added a ton of waypoints and a mini-map, which is fine, whatever. I'm not a big fan of that. I like the old map system a lot. I mean, if I was a cab driver in the 30s driving around, I'm not going to have a fucking GPS. I'm going to have a map that I would have to bring up to look at. You know, great. It's great because I hated exploring in the original, you know. I loved it. I love it when you have waypoints with a little gold line telling me exactly where to drive. You know, not just holding down tab for a couple of seconds so I can plan my route myself. Nah, I don't want that, mate. Give me the waypoint. Give me the yellow line so I know where I'm meant to go. Whatever. These things aren't the end of the world, and some of them might be changed before the game's released. So we'll see. We will see what happens. From what we've seen from this latest gameplay, they've heavily redesigned the gunplay. And it doesn't look good. The gunplay looks like it was ripped straight out of Mafia 3, which really doesn't work for Tommy's character. Sure, Tommy might have fought in World War I, maybe. But that doesn't mean he's a G.I. Joe or a super soldier like Lincoln Clay. He's not going to have the amazing gun skills that Lincoln has. So why is all of his reload animations so quick? Now, I know a lot of people thought Mafia 3 had some solid gunplay, and they thought it was the best part of the game. I hated it. I really hated that gunplay. It just didn't work for me. I think that Mafia 2 had the best gunplay, personally. I found it a lot more satisfying, the way that the enemies would react to my shots, and the way the enemies fought, since they actually had reasonably smart AI in Mafia 2. The sound effects were better, so the guns felt a lot heavier, a lot more impactful. This isn't the end of the world for me. It's not like I'm going to say, oh, I will never play the game because of the guns. But it annoys me a bit, especially since I'm a cab driver. Tommy's a cab driver, yet he's got the speed and capability of Lincoln Clay, who's basically Rambo. It's kind of ridiculous, and it takes away from the realism of the story, which is kind of a big point. Hell, in the gameplay trailer, they showed Tommy kill more people than he did in the whole of the original game. Oh, and at one point, the police have a machine gun mounted on an armored truck. Like, that takes away so much from the game. The game was about realism. Why would a bunch of Border Patrol guys bring a fucking mounted machine gun to take out a couple of bootleggers? It's just stupid. I really don't get it. Oh, and I really hated the way the guns sounded, because they sounded pathetic. They sounded weak. It sounded like Mafia 3's gun sounds. Overall, these problems kind of ruin the tone of the game. A more minor thing would be how the ammo works in the remake. In the original, you lose whatever ammo you have left in a clip or a magazine. Say, I'm firing my Tommy gun. I have 13 shots left in it, but I've got to go into this new room where I know there's like 3 or 4 guys. I reload. I've now got 50 shots in my Tommy gun, but I lose those 13 that were in the old magazine. It's just a little bit more attention to detail, and it made that gunfight just so much more tense, because you had to make a decision on whether you were going to reload and lose that bit of ammo, or you were going to move forward with a half-empty weapon. Hell, if my weapon's almost empty, and I know there's only one more guy, I'm fine with that. But I don't know there's only one more guy, there could be more. And then I get caught reloading and someone's going to run up with a shotgun and just destroy me. It happened a lot in the original game, and it just made the gunfight so much more engaging. The thing that really irks me is the way they seem to have removed the majority of realism and heavily altered the tone of the game, as well as making changes to the story just to fit their new gameplay style. I'm really, really worried about the additions they're planning on making. So they've said they've expanded the story. I have a feeling this expansion of the story might not be that great. It might be. I'm going to be positive. It might be great. They might really flesh out the story and it's suddenly 1,000 times better. But I'm worried about it. And I'm worried that it's just not going to fit the tone of the old game. And now with the redesigned gameplays going for this whole bombastic, over the top, and the reimagining of the characters doesn't fit the old game. So let's say they do the story exactly as it was in the original game. These new characters and this new gameplay style doesn't fit that story. Because you've taken this very grounded and gritty story and you've thrown in over-the-top bombastic shootouts with these weird reimagined characters, and all these big changes just won't fit with that story. And then you're going to have these tailor-made little sections that they're going to add on, which again are going to fit the new style but aren't going to fit the old tone. So you're going to have this really weird mismatching of tones from mission to mission as you go from an old mission redesigned to a brand new mission that just doesn't fit. I'm going to finish this video off with saying, I think if you like Mafia 3, you're going to really like the Mafia 1 remake. I don't like Mafia 3. I really don't like Mafia 3, in fact. I love Mafia 1, and I love Mafia 2, and this looks like Mafia 3 Lost Heaven DLC, which I'm just not interested in. Oh wait, maybe there'll be some changes. We'll see what happens. Anyway, that's a quick roundup of my thoughts on the Mafia 1 remake. Tell me what you thought in the comments. If you liked the video, remember to like it and subscribe for more videos. I'll see you later. Bye. Excuse me. And then... Excuse me.